What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka All Fires. Now, we've been getting updates about the X-Men reboot in the MCU for the better part of 16 to 18 months. It was late 2023 when it was officially announced by The Hollywood Reporter and Deadline that Marvel Studios was moving forward with development on the project. And then in early 2024, about a year ago, is when writers started pitching Marvel Studios, and they eventually hired Michael Leslie, the guy who wrote the last Hunger Games movie, to pen the script. Presumably, since we haven't had an update about production, they're still working on the script at this moment. But it was another quote by Kevin Feige real recently about what we might continue to see in the MCU over the next couple of years that was super interesting and gives a lot of credence to these recent rumors we're hearing about casting for the MCU's X-Men. Where just weeks ago we were hearing about a possible Jean Grey with Sadie Sink, and now we have an update for an actress who is actually campaigning for herself to play the role of Storm. We're breaking down this latest update that Marvel Studios may be eyeing Cynthia Erivo to play Storm in the MCU. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we do daily Marvel content at the channel. That's all we do. So if that sort of thing's for you, hit the sub button, leave a comment down below. That will automatically enter you to win our ongoing PS5 giveaway. The next one is right around the corner. In fact, we've got several in the next 60 to 90 days. Again, all you got to do is be a sub, leave a comment. If you want, stick around at the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so this actually comes to us from industry insider Jeff Snyder on the Hot Mic podcast. He also has his own insider editorial, but a lot of the Marvel scoops he's been dropping, including the one where he nailed Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Dr. Doom months before it happened, have been on the Hot Mic podcast. This is as re-reported by comicbookmovie.com, where they go on to report, quote, "Last week, a rumor did the rounds that Marvel Studios met with Wicked star Cynthia Erivo about potentially suiting up as Storm in the long-awaited X-Men reboot. Another reliable source has now backed up this claim. On the latest episode of the Hot Mic podcast, Jeff Snyder said that he's heard that there, quote, is actual interest in enlisting Erivo to play the weather-manipulating mutant. The reporter also indicated that he knows about another individual, we're not sure if it's an actor or director, on the studio's radar, but is keeping it under his hat for the time being." Of course, because Cynthia Erivo has been doing the press junket for Wicked, she's had a ton of people asking her questions about her career, including what her dream role would be, as the article goes on to point out, quote, "Whether Erivo has actually entered talks or is simply one possible contender is hard to say, but we do know that she would jump at the chance to play Aurora Monroe. Erivo was asked if there was a quote-unquote dream role that she'd like to manifest while being interviewed by the National Board of Review, to which she responded, quote, 'I really want to play Storm,' she responded. 'I know it sounds frivolous, but I think we haven't uncovered how grand she is and all of that inner turmoil that she has, and I think there is a world where we could really do something like that.'" Now, this is where the asterisks begin to fly, because the reason I mentioned the stuff I did during the prologue is this. If they're just now working on the script and they're not planning on shooting the X-Men reboot, say, before 2026 or 2027, casting would not be going down. I say this every time we get a casting rumor coming up about the X-Men. I said the same thing in the Sadie Sink video. They're going to want to bring a director on board because a director they would want for this film would want to have some sort of input and control over who he's casting in his major roles as his leads and for these characters. Of course, Sarah Flynn has been handling the casting at Marvel Studios since Iron Man Robert Downey Jr., pretty much since its inception. She's still doing it over there, but they wouldn't want to go ahead and cast this entire team unless they had a director. Now, the big exception here is unless they planned on using some of these particular X-Men in the upcoming 2 Avengers films. And the reason we have some idea that this might be happening was a recent quote by Kevin Feige when talking about the mutants entering the MCU, and this was at a Japanese Comic-Con literally at the very end of last year, in which he said, "You've already seen some mutants enter the MCU. You might continue to recognize some of these characters over the next couple of years," which was a huge thing. We did a video on this. We know the X-Men reboot is not coming in this time. Now, that means one of two things. Either they're bringing back a lot more Fox X-Men, or they're going to cast some of these new characters and have them involved in Secret Wars before we get to the X-Men team-up movie and down the road. That would be the exception for why you might have a casting like Jean Grey or a casting like Storm, and before we get to the X-Men reboot. Still, I find it highly unlikely. And so, while some of this conjecture might actually be true, because let's face it, of all of the things that fly around in the rumor mill, the casting reports are the ones that I guess are the most frivolous, I would say. And only because so many names get thrown around and so many actors get contacted about these roles. How many people have stepped up to say they auditioned for Captain America? The list has been, at least 10 have come out and publicly said this. So what I really think happens is, even though we did find out the Fantastic Four cast casting in rumors 2 months before Marvel confirmed it, and there might have been some truth to Adam Driver and Margot Robbie turning down the original offers. That might come out, who knows. There's still just so many names that are thrown around for casting, and it's definitely going to be that way for the X-Men. So until I know there's a director and an actual production date, or they're moving forward with that, I just find it hard to believe that any of these names are anything more than maybe someone at Marvel brought the name up. There might be some interest there, but not an actual concrete casting unless they need the character right around the corner. And the other really tricky thing about doing an X-Men reboot in this way is that it's the same thing as casting the Fantastic Four. You've really got to make sure the pieces work together in that first film. It's not just casting a bunch of great actors, it's making sure they have chemistry and work together. There's got to be something there. You can't just cast these pieces in a void. That's why I find it even harder to believe that they would move forward on some major characters like Jean Grey and Storm and do those separately from having basically the whole team read together, or certain actors read together, and see what the chemistry is like. So bottom line, maybe take the casting rumors that we're hearing about the X-Men over the next year or so with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean where there's smoke, there's not fire, but it also doesn't mean anybody's getting cast tomorrow. And I think that there was probably a better timeline in somewhere in the multiverse where Angela Bassett actually played Storm, but unfortunately, obviously, she already had a huge role in the MCU. But at this point, you brought Robert Downey Jr. back to play Doctor Doom. It could be done. Still, guys, let me know all your thoughts down below. I shouldn't say obviously, I'm not too big into musicals. I didn't see Wicked. I don't really know Cynthia Erivo or any of her acting. If you do and you like this casting, let me know in the comments. If you're not for it and you have a different person you think should get the role, let me know. But I feel like a lot of these castings are going to be super sensitive. I certainly care about each and every one of them, and just try to remember that, don't get too bent out of shape about any of these names. No one's getting cast anytime soon. No one is set in stone. This isn't the X-Men team. I just watched it happen with the Fantastic Four so many times. People were losing their minds about some of the Reed Richards we were hearing about, and none of them actually ended up coming true. But I'm all ears as always. Who you got for Storm in the MCU? Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff, guys. We're still giving away PS5s for every Marvel drop this year, and because there's like 6 TV shows and 3 movies, it's basically 1 a month. If you want to be entered to win, or for any of the other future giveaways at the channel, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button because you need to be a subscriber, then leave a comment down below. Because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here, live with my voice, and the winning comment shown on screen when there is one. The best way to keep up with the content at the channel has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. And as always, if you like today's video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. My name is Michael Roman. You can find me in a couple of places, Instagram and Twitter at @I'mFires. You can also find me on all platforms, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, iTunes, wherever you listen to original music under the name Allfires. And while I sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.